Welcome back, everyone. Well, about a month ago, beginning of June, my guest was a guest here on Look TV. Virginia Fretto was here talking about the Tour de Cure. And at that time, it was all about the race, but I did notice that she was wearing some amazing jewelry. So, welcome back.
Nice
to have you here. Oh, you're welcome. First, how'd the Tour de Cure go?
It was excellent.
Was it good?
Despite the weather, we still had a great turnout, and I believe at this point we have raised almost $900,000. The Saratoga, the Saratoga
wow.
ride.
$900,000. This is for diabetes, by the way, and you have type 1.
Yes,
right?
I do. I live with type 1.
Boy, and that's something, you know, anybody who has diabetes knows that that's something that you just don't get up one day and go, okay, that's it, I'm fine. This is a lifelong pursuit and
Every
a
day,
lifelong challenge. Yes, right,
Yep.
of course. But you know what? I couldn't help but notice that you were wearing some really, really nice jewelry. So Virginia brought in some examples of her jewelry, which I will talk about in a minute. But, you know, with any artist that we have on here, whether musicians or painters, photographers, jewelry designers and makers, I always ask them what inspired them. So what inspired you to start this?
Well, I've always been inspired by fabric. I went to school to be a fashion designer, ended up working in fine jewelry, and then it kind of was this natural progression that I started to design fabric jewelry. So I'm always inspired to live an eco-friendly lifestyle, so I incorporate organic cottons, plant-dyed silks, I upcycle vintage clothing. So it's really a passion that starts with the fabric, and it's just, I guess, fortified by the eco-friendliness.
Well, you know what? There's a couple of things, and I'm also thinking of kind of the sub-theme that it's all about culture, too, because, you know, design and fabric changes over all the years. And, you know, what you pick and what inspires you to add something to it, you know, is all part of the creative process, right?
Yes.
You mentioned you work for a jewelry company. Which one?
I worked for Hearts on Fire. It's a diamond jewelry company.
Sure.
And there I actually started to head up their social responsibility programming. So everything from making it more eco-friendly, ethical, socially responsible, getting involved with the community. So that's where I really found my passion for this whole sustainability in business.
You know what? Any artist will tell you it is so difficult to take that first step out on your own. But you know what? It's like sometimes they call it the creative curse. You're just driven. You got to do it, you know. And all of a sudden you find yourself thinking and drawing and the like. Now, obviously involved with fabric, as you said, a lot of vintage fabrics and whatever. So you find them, you source them from everywhere, right?
Yeah. And I actually have an awesome vendor, Gray Birch Vintage, down in Albany, who she has an amazing eye. She also went to fashion design school, so we speak the same language, and she always knows what I'm looking for. So we have a great relationship going with that. Some pieces come to me because people simply have something that they're like, I think this would make great bracelets, and I just have to cut it up and find out.
I've got it. Now, I noticed that your pieces are augmented with metal.
Yes.
And sometimes it appears to be quartz.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where do you source the metals and or the quartz?
I have a variety of vendors. I try to work with as many made in U.S. products as possible. I work with a lot of small business, kind of mom and pop shops at this point. But it's always evolving, and I'm always inspired. Sometimes a bead might inspire like a brand new style. So it's a range. I work with a lot of brass and copper, and like you said, quartz. So it's a lot of fun. Always a mix of metals, so you can wear it with everything.
Well, you know, they said there's all kinds of medicinal properties to copper and to brass also, right?
Yeah.
It's got somewhat of an industrial feel. I don't want to be misleading about that. It isn't bulky and heavy, but it does. The designs are really very interesting. The way you put things together. You know what? I got to ask you a question. This is sort of out of left field. So you ready?
Sure.
If you're sourcing fabrics and vintage fabrics and whatever, do people ever come to you because they've got a piece of fabric that maybe part of their heritage or maybe belong to a member of the family or something?
Yes, and those are my favorite projects.
Oh, okay.
It can be anything from like a baby blanket or
right. That's what I'm thinking.
a loved one's wedding dress or something like that, and I can incorporate them into designs for the whole family. And those are truly like the most special pieces because there's such a story behind those fabrics. And a lot of times people have a picture of somebody wearing it or, you know, some really important part in their life that they remember that garment.
Sure, of course. And then, of course, every time they touch it or look at
Yes.
it, they're reminded of that
reminder.
person.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's something. Now, the name of your company is kind of interesting. Razimus.
Yes. I wanted something different. I wanted...
Oh, you succeeded in that.
Yeah.
Where'd it come from?
It's actually a word my grandfather, I call him Pop-Up, he made up. So he had 6 kids and a lot of grandkids, and when he wanted us to listen or if we did a good job, he would say, I'll give you a Razimus. And it was this very elusive thing. You didn't always know what you were going to get if you got anything, but it was like a kind of a fun game he played with us to get the Razimus. So as we got older, it actually turned into some money for college. So he was really investing in us working hard. So
you can find out about her jewelry 2 ways. One, go to Razimus.
RazimusJewelry.com.
Okay, Razimus, that's Razimus, or you can see it on the screen. RazimusJewelry.com. Good.
Yep.
And then also the market at Round Lake is coming up. August 13 and 14, that's a Saturday and Sunday. It's a wonderful day in this wonderful little hamlet of Round Lake, just south of Saratoga. There'll be crafts and food and art and designer, and Virginia will be there
I'll be
with
there.
your things.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you, and best of luck. It's so creative and it's so original.
Thank you for supporting the local artists.
You're quite welcome. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.